Hi, my name is Brooke Canby. I want to introduce Allie Johnson, who is a cultural creative. She is in her 20s, and she's one of the few people that I've met. She actually happens to be my niece, too, that has created something alive that is completely her own at a very young age. So I'm excited to interview her because she's one of the happiest people and most well-adjusted women I've ever met that is as young as she is. So I hope you will love listening to her and hearing about her story because I love talking to her and being around her. And here she comes. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Okay. I'm good. Can you hear me and see me and everything?
Yeah, I can hear you and see you. So you see that it's recording too, so you know that.
Yes, and I can also see. Okay, it's good now. You're not delayed anymore.
Okay, good. Thank you for acknowledging I'm not delayed anymore.
You're on track now. You're on track now.
I'm on the right path. Thank you.
Wow. Congrats.
Thanks. I don't know if I kind of explained the purpose of doing these videos anyway, is because I wanted to share with other people this idea of a cultural creative, someone who left, the traditional ways of culture, even when it was hard, despite upbringings telling you that you have to be one way, and you kind of pull away from it to create something alive, basically daily living that completely works for you, that makes you happy. So I'm going to tell a little bit about you, that I know what I know about you, and then you can tell me, because I have questions too. So basically, this is what I know about you, beautiful woman, is that you are hugely creative. You have what I consider an umbrella job, which is you work remotely, and it fits with your talents and your gifts of, you like the logical, mathematical, and statistical stuff. So it works with those gifts. And it allows you to do the other things that you love to do, which is spend time with Bug, who is your partner. And also you record these amazing TikTok videos with your fur babies, because you're a great fur baby mom with your kitty cats. And you share those videos, but you also have dancing that you do and singing too. So you have those videos that you share on TikTok. So, and all the other things that you love to do, which you can name all those things as well. So you have this, what I feel is a very rich life, that you support it through a job that's not like everybody thinks they have to have this great calling, but your life is your calling. Everything that you do brings you joy in your life. I mean, I'm not saying that your life is perfect, right. But tell me a little bit how you got from, I feel like you're very young to be where you are. And that's why I wanted to interview you, because you were raised in a very conservative background, and you had challenges along the way. And I will let you explain that, and then how you got to be where you are, and how you knew you needed to, or it was a series of steps along the way. Because I will say this too, is like you were raised where you were taught to be married, and you had to have a traditional boy relationship, and you do not, and you have a beautiful marriage with Bug. So just talk a little bit about that, if you don't care.
Of course. So I think one of the biggest things, preface, and one of the biggest themes that started from a very young age was that it was okay to learn from the good and bad. And you don't learn from punishment, because that's like fear tactic, and that's what was instilled always in me. And so instead of being scared, I was like, how do I feel, and how do I not want to feel? How do I want to feel, but the fullest acknowledgement of learning from the good and the bad. So as much as I was taught to be this certain type of way, whether it be religion, politics, not necessarily politics until much older, but just the idea of this conservative holding, the biggest being religion, especially with the marriage and everything else. But starting from a really young age, like I said, all the I guess it's not necessarily even strict. It was just the morals were very different. And I understood that. I was like, well, they're nice people. that's not it. That's not it. But it was the way it made me feel. And I looked at the people around me and I was like, how do they respond to my family? How do they feel? How does that make me feel? Just everything, learning from it. And I think the separation really occurred when I was probably like, I guess it was before school. So I had to have been like 4. I was really young, but one of my early memories, I was like, I don't want to tell them that I feel this way. I will, but something's different. Something's off. And I started to feel kind of like an alien. And that was always what I joked about. And I still do. I'm
I
an
know. I
alien.
know.
They're robots.
There's robots and aliens. I get it.
Right. And I know it's like, I have ADD, obviously you'll find in conversation that I go all over. But it's like, I always felt like an alien. And I really think it started, right before school, like I said. And I was like, I don't think that I'm different from my family, like in a bad way. It's not like that I am a wrong person. I don't think I took it that way at times, that it was a bad thing. But I realized that I could learn about myself and find myself in the things that I did and how I made other people feel, and learn from the conservative aspect fully. So some people think, oh, it's because you go against the grain. Well, I did, but only internally for the longest time. But I was learning from everyone around me. I still took it all. And I was like, I'm being punished for this and I will accept it. I wasn't like, I'm not going to be punished for that. I was like, well, I know that was wrong. They don't have to know that right now, but there's something wrong with them and I want to learn about it, or, whatever, like maybe their mom did that to them, or, whatever. It was all about learning about it. And then once I started to have these small realizations within myself, and I realized that my inner monologue was occurring, and this person that was within was trying to be out. I was like, who is that person? Who is this person who's guided me through this, through every bad, good, all of the things? This person inside that has gotten me here. Who are they? Because that's not me. That's someone I've been listening to. Who is that though? And that was how I'm becoming now. That person coming out is like the person who is taking care of me. And so now I'm able to really be that external self of all of the learning from the good and bad. And also finding that it's, although people oftentimes assume that like that kind of childhood is just that maybe a traumatic childhood or whatever kind of childhood you had, that's supposed to always be like some sort of, I don't know, like a development in a way that's like a, oh my gosh, you're so strong. Like, yeah, I mean, you had to be though. Like that's part of it. Yes, you have to be. It doesn't feel like yes, I'm proud. Yes, I'm proud. Like it doesn't feel like a, I don't know. It's like you just kind of had to be there. You just had to be there. It was bad. It was bad. Don't get me wrong. It was bad at times, but it got me here and I'm very proud of it. And I love those people who got me there because I find the positives in all of it. I'm like, they were that way because they were taught that way. And it's okay that there are generational gaps. We've just got to find the middle to walk each other back and forth, because I need to learn their stuff too. I need to learn how they got there. They need to learn how I got here. Like we just learn from each other, whether it be like strangers or your family or whatever. I don't know if that was an answer to your question of how I got here, but
it sounds like because you at a young age recognized that this was all learning and you were very much an observer. So it's almost like you were able to separate from yourself, your like social self from your essential self. Like your essential self always guided you, this is not good or bad, this is just the way it is. And then so your social self didn't like take over and that's all who you were, was completely, that's what a lot of people are, that they just project what other people see in them. And so therefore that's what their lives are. And you just have who you are. And you were able to choose as you got older, this does not feel good. I mean, yeah, this does not feel good and this feels good. Therefore, this is what I am, or who I am. And this is what feels good.
Right.
So can you tell me some of the hard decisions that you had to make along the way to, everybody that I've talked to and everybody that I've read about that's a cultural creative is they make small decisions along the way to leave culture to create something they want. Um, but sometimes they're hard. Like there's these steps that you have to do. Can you tell me about some of those things that you knew that you had to do to be yourself?
Yes. So, well, one of the, I guess, the biggest primary here is being a lesbian, of course, queer of any sort. I didn't feel like I was disrespecting myself in not being true to myself, because I was being true to myself, and I was the only person that mattered in my head at that moment when it came to that, because I was like, as far as being a lesbian, because I knew that for so long that I was so comfortable with only me knowing that. And I knew that everybody actually knew, like, besides the point, like, everybody already knew. Like, obviously, you knew, everybody already knew. That was not, it was jokes. I got jokes if I said that somebody. But, anyways, so I knew all along. So it was like a safety. It was safe to be straight, be neutral. I wasn't even that I was straight. It was that I was just very neutral, and I was not gay. I could not be queer. That was not the case. And so as a kind of invisibility cloak, for Harry Potter terms, I had to stay in the closet, in the kindest way to myself, though. And I did that because I watched everyone around me in that. So it wasn't like I was depressed by it. So I had this girlfriend, I had this girlfriend for like 2 years, and didn't tell my family. But I continued to live my life and learn myself and really find myself, because that's what was important to me. It was important for me to understand myself before I tried to bring anybody else into me. And I am myself and confusing. I'm an alien, like I said. And so it was the most rational thing for me. And I've had so many people say, like, you just have to be true to you. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I was being to me, though. And that's the thing, is I think that a lot of people that say that are looking for external validation with it, though. I was being very true to me. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't need the external validation of telling everyone my personal things until I was ready. And then I was like, now I'm so validated that I'm just telling you. I'm not telling you there's no question. I'm not telling you because if you don't accept me, that's okay. Because I've accepted me and I know me. So in separating from that fully, then it gave me every single capability, or all the capability to set boundaries for everything else in my life. And so that went into more relationships, that went into everything else. So in finding, the relationship I have now, the reason that it works out so well is because I spent my entire life being able to separate good and bad and learning from it. And also not in hindsight. Mm-hmm. Hindsight is, you don't ever want to learn something in hindsight, because it means that you got through it not knowing something that you needed to know. So I tried to learn it long prior to hindsight. And I'm like, this is a lesson that I would learn in hindsight if I didn't acknowledge it right this moment. And I get out of it before then, or I get into it before then, whatever the situation is. So that was a big, hard thing. Yes, that I had to separate there.
It sounds like you're an expert at knowing your own feelings. And so therefore, what feels bad and know that it's time to get out of it and make that choice.
Yeah, it's, I think the feeling of not knowing in itself, and accepting that the feeling of not knowing is a feeling. That was one of the biggest things for me, was that if I'm uncomfortable, like, if I don't know what it means, I need to validate myself. Like, I have to find that feeling. And you're never going to know two feelings of the same. You may, like, if you're sad, yeah, but every sad feeling feels different, Right. So, like, also understanding that we're always growing, we're always going to change. Tomorrow, our sad may be different than today's sad. Like, but understanding your own feelings help you understand everyone around you. Like, not 100%, of course, but if I acknowledge how I feel when something happens in a day, and I see how I dealt with it, and I can talk myself through it, than when maybe someone that I work with, maybe that is having a very similar situation that I was having to deal with, maybe like an exact same thing or something. I can talk to them and I'm like, yeah, it was sad, it was really crappy, or whatever happened, but it's like you can kind of feel it a little differently, like empath it a little
Right.
more,
Right.
because you've then acknowledged yourself and how it felt for you, which everyone's going to be different, of course, but that's
Right.
part of empathy, is being able to kind of vibe with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyways.
Well, yes, it makes complete sense. Thank you for sharing that. So I have a question for you. I have two more questions. One question is, can you tell me a little bit about your life? Like who you are, why I would say you're a cultural creative. Like what joy do you have in your life, that what is the best thing about your life the way it is right now? One of the best. Just tell me about it.
Yeah. Well, one of the best things about my life right now is that no matter what happens, anything that would be handed to me, I know, like anything that was handed to me right now, I could deal with. And I'm not saying I could deal with like, oh, I get through it, everybody gets through it. No, like I would genuinely be able to absorb it and analyze it and figure it out comfortably, not going over any of my thresholds.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't, and I wouldn't have necessarily been able to say that at different points in my life. It would have had an anxiety attack from it. I would have, really sank from it, or it would have been some sort of trembling thing, whatever it may be. Maybe it even just is something with a car. I don't know.
Right.
But it's like, it's not about money. It's not about things. It's like, it's genuinely that right now, like anything that is the best thing in my life, that if you handed me anything, I could get through it. And that's because I found stability with myself. I found stability with the people around me. I found stability with everything, because I realize it's ever changing. It's just ever changing, and you never know what's going to happen.
So
but you can always find the good in it.
Right.
Like, period. You can always find the good in it. You can always find the bad in it too. That's the easiest part typically. But you can always find the good in it. And that's the better part of it.
Yeah.
Is to find the good in it.
Yeah. Wow. That is so amazing. You teach me a lot, honestly. That's that flexibility, because here we can move a little bit. The flexibility that you describe is, I'm such a clinger to things. And that's why I think cultural creatives are so amazing, because I was raised to cling to things. And so I have a little bit of that. And so say something is always changing. Yes, I know that. And learning to surf those waves is a skill to learn. Learning to surf the waves of the up and down, like you're going up and down. And you just ride the top of them. The up is not always up. There's also down, and neither one is good or bad. It's there.
Yeah, and part of it too, one of the things that I always like, it's one of the easiest things that helps me to ride those waves every time is to also find a sense of like a lighthouse per se, or like a like that you can see yourself doing it, like a third party. So the whole time you're doing it, you're also acknowledging exactly what's happening. Like, yeah, you may be bawling your eyes out. You may be so upset about something, or you may be so happy, whatever, but you've always got this other part of you. Maybe it's like your id, ego, super ego. Maybe it's that kind of thing. Or, maybe it really is like a lighthouse scenario, or, whatever it is, that you've got this grounding though of this is what's happening, like this is, it's crappy, it's crappy, or well, it's bright, whatever it is. But how is tomorrow going to happen?
Right.
How are the next few minutes going to happen? Like you're riding that wave, you're about to go under, honey. But what are we going to do? What are we going to do to get out of that? Like, it's just having that other self, I guess, not consuming into it only.
Yeah. It's your observer, so you're not caught up in it. I call it the soul, or the observer. That it's literally just a presence that's peaceful always, even though your emotions in your body might feel like a hot mess, or the wave is literally up and down. It's just like there's something there that always keeps you centered and focused.
Yeah, I call it my inner parent. So
it feels like a parent.
Yes. I've always been like, as my parent that's like, hey, you're going to have to get up early and you're really going to like really hate how late you're staying up right now. And it's just like this inner, even just small stuff like that, just whatever, but it gets you through it. But you have to find that person. You really do have to find, because I was very lucky and I'm very blessed that I found it at a young age, whether it be from trauma or whatever you call it. But I found it at a young age. And I think that everybody can find their inner person. And once you find them, they're your best friend.
Oh, yeah.
They are absolutely your best. They're your guidance. They're your best friend. They're the ones that's going to talk you through all of your bad decisions, but also allow you to feel everything you feel because it's not embarrassing to yourself.
Right. It's your inner teacher, so to speak. Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah. And you were fortunate to have it at a young age. So that makes you have all this wisdom in you. And that's what I see too. So
thank you.
So what advice would you give to others? So I want to give you a little background too, because a lot of women that I've talked to and a lot of people that I've talked to in general that are older than you are on this precipice because the pandemic has kind of righted the wrong, so to speak, in that they're beginning to see that what they have followed always is not who they are now. And so it could be in their 30s or 40s or 50s. They're like on this, they just don't know, like, this isn't working for me. I began it in my 20s too. And that's when I, took off, moved to the country at 29 years old in the middle of nowhere, lived by myself for the first time, became a vegetarian and started meditating. So that's what I did. And I was like, I'm out of here, guys. That's, that was something I never even lived out in the country, let alone live by myself out in the country. But a lot of people are realizing that, and it's either traumatic, event from the pandemic, losing their job, but they're on the precipice of change. And they know they need to do something, but they just need to take those next steps. So what advice would you give to someone who is just, they know they need something, but they just don't know how to do it or how to get through it to pull to that other side, like pull them through to where you are?
Two things. So, first thing is that everything that you have gone through before has now given you an outline for every single thing you'll ever do. You've gone through it before, so you'll get through it again. And everything else already has an outline. So, I mean, you'll get through it. But the second part of it, if that fails, that, you've got the tools. Because I know it sounds cliche. I mean this, I'll explain it because it sounds really bad when I say it up front, but nothing really matters. That's what I always say. Nothing really matters. My pal Zachary and I started saying that when we were in undergrad because we would get so caught up in failing a test. We'd get so caught up in everything that was going on that it was so important. And we just looked at each other and we'd say, nothing really matters. If I don't want this, that in saying that, this is what it means. If I don't want this, I don't have to do it. If I want this, then I can do it. But nothing really matters. We are human. We are here. This is our spot. Like it is. When you think about it, just so basically, we've got some humans who live in the out. We've got some humans that live in the in. That's weird. We are here wearing clothes that we try to like look nice and, fit in. And it's just like, nothing really matters. And once you really fully accept that, you can be you, because anything that feels nice, you just do. Don't judge yourself. If it's something that's self-deprecating, don't do it. But if you want to eat 10 donuts and it's not like you don't have, diabetes or something that's going to be bad. If you want to eat 10 donuts, just eat 10 donuts. Really, literally just eat 10 donuts. Like it's just, nothing really matters. Do it. And once I started fully accepting those things, it just really gave me this peace of mind that work, money, it's just stuff. Like it's literally just stuff. And I think a lot of people take that like, oh, well, if you have money, then like, of course you can say that. Or like, if you have this, of course you'd say that. Like, it's just a car. Well, if I had a car, this, that. No, like we as humans have made it worse, because in reality, like we don't need any, like we
We
are
don't,
just
we really don't need any of it. We really don't. Seriously. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And it's just this concept of like, kind of like what I told you with the job, like, because I know we've had this discussion before, and that's how you know a little bit more about my job. It's like, I call it my neutral thing because it doesn't necessarily make me super excited or super happy, but it doesn't stress me out, doesn't take from me. It's neutral. So I can pay for all the things that make me happy, but I am not paying with my energy in a bad way. And I thought about it and I was like, we have this idea that we have to be in a job maybe that makes us so happy. And if you have a job that you love, then you'll never work a day in your life. Like everyone always says that. And I'm like, the pressure of that actually is really exhausting. Because whenever I was happier at my job, like it was whenever we were in office. When we were in office, like I was kind of, I guess, a little happier, you could say, or whatever. But when I got off at 6 o'clock, I was exhausted because I had given all of my energy away to being some type of way for the people around me, not necessarily not fake or anything, but I was having to be, just physically there for all of that time. And I'm not saying that I'm not physically there when I'm work from home, but I'm not giving my energy physically. To all of those people. So now when I get off at 6 o'clock, because I am work from home now, when I get off at 6 o'clock, I have so much energy. I can do the things I want to do. I can go and I can go to the store. I'm like, what am I going to do now? All this stuff. And I'm like, see, I had this idea that, like work, but, was this or that. But I'm like, actually, this job is just very neutral. I know I'm working, yes, but I'm very excited for all the things that are going to happen when I'm done, and it pays for all those things.
Yes, that's exactly.
You and acknowledging the way you feel is okay. Like maybe other people don't feel that way, but I realized that phrase was toxic to me. It was toxic for me. That if you have whatever, like a good job, then you'll never work a day in your life, or whatever the phrase is there. Like, no, I know I'm working. I don't mind to work. It makes me feel good and productive, and I get money and good things from it that I can go do all the other things. But I also know if I didn't have a job, I'd still find happiness in the things that I can do now because I've learned that, gotten that mentality of myself. So it's all discovery portion too,
And you learn, what makes you happy. And I've seen those things that you do that make you happy. You have multiple talents. You didn't have to make a career out of singing. You didn't have to become a TikToker or any of those things to make yourself happy. You just do them because they make you happy. And they're fun. They're fun because my generation was always raised that exactly. And people still say it. You get this job and this job that you love, and it's your career and calling. What's your calling? What's your purpose? It's just like, honestly, if you every day that you go out there and just yourself and you enjoy living, that's your calling.
Yeah. Sometimes I wake up and I don't want to do all of the things I said I was going to do the day before.
Yeah.
And I give myself that space. I'm like, I have boundaries with myself too, because I'm like, no, I'm being a bully. I am definitely being a bully to myself. And it's not the good kind. It's not the kind like, no, I'm actually going to get up because I told myself I have to get up. It's like, no, I deserve to stay in bed, and I'm bullying myself. And I'm guilting myself, or whatever, and I'm like, I just have to tell myself, nothing really matters. Why are you doing this? Let's talk. Like, girl, let's talk with myself. I'm like, let's have a conversation, girl. Miss Ma'am, you are being really mean. Let's talk. And that's okay. I don't know. You're in your own head all day. Might as well get to know her, right? Like,
yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Thank you for talking to me. Nothing really matters.
Yep. That doesn't,
and that's
deal. A good thing. It's just not. It's like, don't cry over spilt milk. It's like, there you go. Nothing really matters. Que sera, sera. That's the other one. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. Whatever will be, will be.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Well, I will say that you made my afternoon. Thank you.
Well, you made my afternoon. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you too. Thank you for talking to me, and I'm excited to share this. Definitely. Cultural creative Allie Johnson, and Allie is a remote worker, and she has this amazing job that supports her calling, which is just being herself every day. She is openly loving. She is the mother to lots of cat babies. and fur babies, an excellent, most excellent mother. She has a wonderful partner, Buck, and they have a healthy, loving relationship. And she loves to do TikTok videos, and she has all kinds of creative outlets. And she is just like a spark, lights you up every time you're around her. So she's just a joy to be around. And she knew at a very young age that you learn from the good and the bad. And she learned to be who she was and who she is. And every day is different. And like she says, nothing really matters, which means you can be who you want to be. It's no big deal. Nothing really matters. So I hope you enjoyed this and that I look forward to all the other interviews coming into the future. And this is Brooke Canby. Bye for now.